Shalom, shalom, people out there. Hope y'all having a fantastic evening. This is Elvin Israel, one of the instructors at RPK, Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom. When we concentrate on those three subjects, Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom, we can be found on YouTube, RPK, Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom. Subscribe, please, and hit the bell. You know, we only got a handful of subscribers, man, but with the information we're dropping, man, we should have a bunch more. But you know, movements and things like this takes time and etc. And usually, a lot of people and stuff like this don't get popular until after a person passes and goes on to the next round. So hopefully, we get to enjoy some of the fruits of our labor while we're still here dealing with increasing our congregation. But let the Most High's will be done, you know, always. But I'm here just to set the little foundation of the biblical truth in Torah. Now, first of all, just to get everything out the way, y'all know that me personally, I am a Messianic believer as well as a fuller preterist. You know, we believe that not only has all things been fulfilled, but we got to also look at it from the ancient Eastern mindset of the Jews and etc. to understand the Bible. So, this is the foundation of what the Bible was trying to accomplish of all of these stories, right? Because a lot of people have missed the whole story. They so caught up on, you know, the laws of Moses and etc. that they didn't forget the foundation. The foundation of the story was this. It's the reason why Moses himself started off with the belief, or what's the word I want to use? The folklore, pretty much, of Adam and Eve. Because if you go through the ancient Egyptian or the ancient Eastern understanding, you'll see that this was actually just a story that was meant to teach a lesson, and it wasn't meant to be taken literal as of a literal Adam, a literal Eve per se. It was meant to teach a lesson. But what was the point of the story, of the lesson? Well, you have a lot of things being introduced. First of all, we have Moses, who grew up in Egypt. You got those Israelites that just came out of Egypt. So, you know, they're used to the the Egyptian understanding, right? So, the first dynamic he tried to do, he tried to concentrate more on the family aspect, right? Because, you know, dealing with in Egypt, right, they put a lot of emphasis on women, right? And the feminism aspect, a lot of that could be found in Egypt, mythology, and etc. So, what Moses was doing first, he had to put the man back in head, right? So we have Adam being created first, and then we have Eve coming from Adam, and then we have the completion of the Adamic race, which is when a man and a woman come together as one, and they become one flesh, right? And what that does, it gives the aspect of family with man being the head, woman being made from man, and etc. So that's the first thing that he tried to put that aspect of. And then he break down how men can go astray listening to the voice of the woman, which obviously that went over a lot of their heads, because we see Solomon actually fall for that same prey in which Moses was trying to warn him about, using the story of Adam and Eve. And we know that one of the things that the Elohim said to Adam was, you hearken to the voice of your wife, therefore you will be cursed for this, right? And we know I'm paraphrasing. So, he was trying to warn what happens when you give your authority over to more of the feminine nature or the feminine energy, which is what these effeminate males do. They actually display their feminine energy, which can make a whole lot of mistakes while doing that. But, you know, he was just showing the aspect of the importance of being under a masculine energy authoritative figure inside of the household, as well as inside of the community, because Adam was supposed to be the head of his community or of his race that he was creating through marriage and etc. So you have that aspect, and then we have that envy is wrong, murder is wrong. We see that through the story of Cain and Abel and etc. But notice the point was the Most High allowed man, because Adam was going to be a representation of mankind, not just Israel, but mankind in general. So you have a representation of man, right? And man is freely walking and talking and driving with the Most High. The Most High provides man with a helpmate to make his job easier, right? But only thing he told man was, I don't want you to gain certain information. Stay away from that information. Stay away from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Stick to the tree of life. So notice that one tree gave life and the other tree gave knowledge of good and evil, which itself would bring forth death, knowing what evil is, knowing what good is, and giving mankind they already had the authority and dominion, so now they have the choice whether to do good or evil. And the Most High wasn't trying to give mankind that. He didn't want them worrying about good and evil and all that stuff. He wanted them just to enjoy his company, enjoy the world that he created for them to flourish and all that stuff. He didn't want the envy and the strife and the murder and the adultery. He didn't want all of that. He just wanted mankind to enjoy the place that he had given for them, worshiping him alone, and enjoying. But man, listening to his wife, because first of all, the man got all of the knowledge from the Most High himself. Now, if we're following the story of what Moses is trying to teach, man got all of the knowledge from the Most High himself, and woman got the knowledge from man. So we have the aspect of man being in control, man being straight rooted to the Most High. He has all of the information. He gave the information to his lady. The lady saw the tree to be desirous, and this is what it says in Torah, and to make one wise. So she wanted to be wiser than what was already presented to her, which brings forth the separation of family, because now you have the feminine energy wanting to be on par with the masculine energy, or being even wiser than the masculine energy. So what happened? She partakes of the fruit first. So now when she partakes of the fruit, she has this knowledge of good and evil now, and now she can use that knowledge in order to steer the man from the Most High, because that's exactly what she did. When she got the fruit, she gave it to her husband. Now he was there, he could have stopped it, but at this time, he gave his authority over to his wife. And when the wife has the authority, she said, okay, we're going to do it a different way now. We're going to do the things that's desirous, the things that we desire. We're going to do that. So let's do that instead of looking at the world and being happy with what the Most High created. We're going to do the things that we desire to make ourselves happy. And that's what that knowledge of good and evil is. It's all about what you desire to make yourself happy, what you consider right, what you consider wrong, what is evil, what is good in your eyes, and you can choose what you want to do based off of not what the Most High have set forth, but what you set forth yourself. And this was the point of the law of Moses, right? The law of Moses did the same exact thing. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. So the law of Moses did the exact same thing. And Shalom, indeed, it was a divine order. So when he came in with the law, right? They just came out of Egypt, wicked Egypt, doing all kind of unnecessary things. He said, okay, for you guys to be a nation of priests, same thing Adam was, right? Adam was a priest, right? In order for you guys to be a nation of priests, it's not going to work with the mindset that you guys are in right now, right? So, I mean, listen to the laws that he gave them, which meant that they had to be doing the stuff in order for him to give a law not to do it. So now he's telling them, you know, I don't want you to have sex with your parents. I don't want you to have sex with your children. I don't want you to have sex with animals. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you killing anybody just because you're upset with them. I don't want you to look at your neighbor's property and just because you're bigger and stronger, you take it from him. So he's trying to give a constitution on how the people could govern themselves righteously before they could even do his services. And that's what it was all about. So those commandments that he was giving them, it represented the same commandments that was given with the good, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And once they became righteous, they no longer needed the commandments, which gave them the tree of life, because by default, they do everything that was meant for them to do. And this is exactly what the New Testament, aka the New Covenant, was actually teaching. And a lot of people don't like that because they feel that we need to be governed by laws. This is why the understanding of Paul and all of them was so extravagant to our understanding today, because Paul was letting it be known. See, a lot of people don't understand. Paul was trying to teach mainly new covenant ideology. When you go into the Gospels, they're still in the old covenant preparing for the new covenant. They're trying to say, okay, now we're going to wrap up the old covenant so we could prepare for the new covenant. And when Paul came in saying, okay guys, now it's time to start transferring your mindset over into the new covenant. And if you listen to a lot of things that Paul was saying, Paul was trying to teach them to change the way that they was thinking. And that's what a lot of people don't understand dealing with this thing. See, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, what was it? It was desirous to make one wise. This is something that's happened intellectually. So what Paul was doing, he came on the scene, he said, hey, okay, we understand that we got the Christ, we got the Messiah here. The Messiah died. So now what do we do since we are now covered by the death of the true Lamb? What are we supposed to do here? Okay, so now, first thing first, I need you guys to quit concentrating on the law of Moses, okay? Because every time you concentrate on the law of Moses, you're giving strength to sin. Because as soon as you don't do something that the law of Moses tell you to do, you're right back getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden again. You're right back into that transgression, getting kicked out of the garden. Christ put you right back in the garden with his blood. He reset everything. This is what the forgiveness of sin was. It takes you back to what Adam did, forgave all of that stuff. So now we're all back in the Garden of Eden again. And the first thing you guys do, you guys look at this tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is presented through the law of Moses, and y'all are picking the fruit off of it. And as soon as you do something that you know that you shouldn't do, you get kicked right out of the garden again, and you got to wait on the atonement to happen in order to try to get back in the garden again. Paul's like, you're never getting to the Most High like that. You're never going to be in the Garden of Eden if you keep doing that. And then you're throwing off the universal laws and all that stuff. So we're going to start looking toward Christ. And if we believe Christ is who he said he is, we believe his words. And his words said he's going to free them all from their sins. So if you're free from your sins, concentrate on the tree of life. And what did the tree of life bring? It brought love. It brought them acknowledging the Father, them being prosperous, them having dominion over the earth, them building, them being fruitful, multiplying, all of the things that you find in Genesis 1, actually, it have them doing all of that stuff. He said, worry about that, being a new man. Don't worry about the desires of the heart and all of that stuff. Because once you go back into the desires of the heart, this is what's dealing with pride again. And once you're dealing with pride again, you're right back in Torah. You're right back to needing a law to tell you not to be prideful. Now, once again, you need a law to tell you this and that. And then you choose whether you're going to make the right decision or the wrong decision, which does what? Kick you right back out of the Garden of Eden again. It kicks you right back out of where the Most High wanted you in the first place. And then we have the same thing dealing with the family dynamics. And this is why Peter and all them, and Timothy and all them, was putting so much emphasis on the family structure and of the women. Because they was actually looking at the story of Adam and Eve, trying to explain to the new way, the new walk on how to do things that pleases the Most High. So what's the first thing that they told them, which a lot of people is not going to like, but what was the first thing that they was trying to tell them? Inside of this body, inside of this new mankind that we have, not the old mankind, but inside of this new creation, women, I'm going to need y'all to be quiet. I'm going to need y'all to be quiet. See, Eve wasn't quiet. And look what happened when Eve was actually in rulership, and when she was able to talk, she was able to converse with the snake. She was able to tell her man this and that. They was able to do the blame game and all of that stuff. He said, now women, in this new creation that we're in this new way, since all of the sins have been wiped away, and we are right back in the Garden of Eden, which was figurative, it wasn't literal, but we're right back in the Garden of Eden again. Women, we need you to be quiet. If you have any questions or concerns, ask your husband at home. You can't ask any other man, because the any other man, it replicated what happened when she was talking to the serpent. She went outside of her husband's authority and she spoke to the serpent. So now he's saying, no, with your one flesh, that's what you're going to do. You're not going to be with all these other men. You're not going to be getting information from them. They're not going to be giving you advice. You're going to stick to what your husband say, your head, your one flesh, and you're going to do what he says, because that was the correct order in the beginning. That's just how it was set up. And then you got Peter telling them that y'all need to be daughters of Sarah, because they put a lot of emphasis in the first century on women, because there was a lot of things going on with men being so much in love with the woman species, even in that. See, it's a lot of things that's going on inside of the first century anyway. That's why you gotta go into the old historical aspects like Josephus and Philo in order to understand what's going on in the first century. But at that point in time, feminism had been at the point. Y'all think that we have feminism right now in the United States of America and it just started here? No, that stuff been going around since Egypt. You can actually find it in the Bible when Christ corrected that woman, when the woman said it was blessed is the woman perhaps who let this man suck from her breast or something like that, giving aspects and praise to the woman. And Christ said, no, better yet, blessed is the father, or something like that. Y'all know, I'm just paraphrasing. But they was trying to hit that feminism stuff back then. So you got them trying to correct that first inside of the church. And Peter was like, y'all should be like daughters of Sarah. And he took it to the aspect of saying that Sarah was in so much subjective to Abraham that she referred to him as her Lord. Now, what kind of woman is going to do that today? You see, that's the type of subjection that's needed inside of the kingdom of heaven, dealing with the family aspect. That woman, Sarah, who everybody was supposed to be daughters of, right? She was in so much subjection to her husband that she referred to him as her Lord. So she knew she had the big Lord in heaven. She knew about that Lord, but she knew that she had an earthly Lord, which was her husband. Now, that's what the Bible says. Now, what are the women doing today to display that type of subjection to her husband? You know what I'm saying? That's the things that was needed in order for the new heavenly kingdom to be seen on earth. Because Christ brought it. John the Baptist taught it. Christ taught it. They all taught that the kingdom of heaven was at hand. It was getting ready to crack open. Christ taught that the kingdom of heaven itself was something inwardly, not outwardly, which was dealing more with the mental mindset. And for people, in order for the people to see the kingdom, they had to change their mindset. The women had to become women, subjective women again. The men had to become masculine men again, authority figure, and all that stuff. So, but to fast forward it and to end it, because now I'm at my spot, what the Torah was doing, it was getting mankind through the Jews ready for the kingdom and show them what they were supposed to be doing already without needing the burden of the law. Because once you did the law, it was good, right? It was great. You was pretty much in life. But as soon as you went against the law, you was in death, because then you have the curses coming, right? And the point of the new covenant, when Christ did his sacrifice, we didn't need no more curses, right? Now he made a kingdom in which only certain people could enter into, the best of the best. Nobody wicked is inside of his kingdom, because kingdom really means authority. It's not a realm per se. It's not a council. This is what people want to teach today in the 21st century. But once you look at the Greek and the Hebrew, you realize that it was more of a place of authority. In order for Christ to have authority over you, in order for you to be in subjection to him, you had to do what he said. But a lot of people, I mean, his ministry was only 3.5 years, right? And he was speaking, when he spoke to a lot of people, he spoke in parables. So then when the disciples came around and they got the Holy Spirit, they was finally able to explain to the people what exactly this kingdom is, how to get the kingdom, and how Moses himself was trying to explain it to them what Christ was going to fulfill, which was a place of love, kindness, and all that stuff. But the first thing he had to do was get the family straight first, and then get the people straight. He got the family straight, and you can do it in any order that you want it. Get the people straight first, get the family straight. But that was the point. Hopefully I ain't jumping everywhere, but that's where I'm at right now, y'all. I gotta go. But please, please, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, RPK, Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom, where that's what we concentrate on. Resurrection, Prophecy, and Kingdom. And before I go, let me say this aspect, because now I'm finna make everybody jump offline with this truth right here. All right, so once you have the divine order, right? Once you get everything back how it was, you finally put on Christ and you believe what Christ says, right? Christ actually told them that the fulfillment of all prophecies was going to be during the generation that he lived in. No matter what anybody want to tell you, no matter how they want to argue, no matter what they say. He didn't say that he's coming back 2,000 years in the future. He didn't allude to it's going to be nothing new under the sun. It was going to happen over and over again. Christ put everything dealing with the destruction of the temple, which took away the old covenant, only allowing the new covenant to be in place, where you can worship the Father in spirit and in truth. But in order to get into that new covenant, that's what the disciples and that's what Paul was actually trying to explain people. We got to change the way that we think. We got to change the way that we do things, because we left the Garden of Eden a long time ago, and we got to get back into the Garden of Eden. So let's show how to get back into the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was about being fruitful, multiplying, being prosperous. The only way that mankind can do that is through family and through love. You love each other. You have family. You don't dip into nobody else's family. Nobody dip into your family. And y'all come together. You congregate together. Everybody be respectful toward each other. Husband be in subjection to Christ, as Christ is to the Father. Wives be in subjection to the husband, and the kids be in subjection to the wife and the father. That was the constitution of being inside of the kingdom. And if you do that, you're inside of the kingdom, you're prospering. Ain't no place for religion and none of that stuff. It's only place for spirituality and worshiping the Father and continuing the kingdom of heaven on earth. That was the point. That's it. Anything else that you're waiting on is not going to happen. Nobody's going to pop out the sky. That's not what that's not even what they thought in the old Eastern language. That's what, when the Romans got a hold of it, them being more of a literal society when the Catholics and all of them came around, them taking everything literal, not knowing the Hebraic mindset, not knowing the background. They just said what they thought, and we inherited that same understanding that they have. So that's why we are in a futurist doctrine today. This is why people think all of the things in the Bible is going to happen again today, and they don't understand that we are reading a fulfilled book. But we need to use that fulfilled book to understand how we are to enter into the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven was established about 2,000 years ago, but how can you and your family enter into that kingdom of heaven? And that is through obedience, through love, through prosperity, through kindness. And if you read Matthew 25, it actually explains to you the elements you need in order to be inside of the kingdom of heaven. I love you all. Thank you all for listening in, and there's more to come. Shalom.